Hey, my name is Jacob Rushfin, founder and CEO of Botsy and the host of Price Power, the podcast for subscription apps to grow their revenue. Today we've got a solo episode. We're going to be looking at a new style of onboarding flow for your app. Are you tired of the quiz style onboarding flow and forcing new users with tons of multiple choice questions? I know I am. My bet is this new style of onboarding has become more and more popular, and we're going to see more apps test this out throughout the rest of the year. This is your chance to test this now before it becomes overdone by other apps. So if you're not on YouTube, go check this out there because you'll be able to see the full visual breakdown. I'm still going to try to explain everything well for audio-only listeners, but I think you'll appreciate seeing the visuals too. We're going to break down Opal's new chat-like onboarding style. And you know that an app with Opal's scale wouldn't launch this without rigorously testing and validating this is an approach that performs. So I believe we can learn a lot here. All right, so Opal launched a redesign of their onboarding experience that has a kind of a chat-like chatbot flow. And so there's definitely still questions and quiz flows, but I think it could be a really new, interesting UX style that a lot of apps could start exploring. So one of the best things that Opal actually does, separate from this, is they have an amazing hook on their very first screen. All right, so when you open the app, they have a little rock, and you crack open that rock, and it shows their first Opal. And this is, there's no welcome screen when you load the app. It's this instant hook. And so it gets you engaged and allows for kind of an easy interaction from the user to keep you going. Then you crack open this rock, and then it has this, they say dimmed by noise, apps, and everything else pulling at you. So it's kind of this vague, interesting connection to the value. And if we look here, you can kind of see this full flow. And then it transitions into the Opal kind of saying, I'll help protect your focus. So it's kind of this back and forth and in a first person, a kind of real conversation where it kind of feels like you're talking to the rock or the Opal. But this, I think a lot of people leave on the very first screen of your app. So you got to figure out what is this hook. And Opal has a great job of hooking people very quickly and early. And so don't forget about that. You're optimizing the rest of your funnel, but when you look at the drop-off rates, it's actually usually pretty high on the first screen. And you look, some of these users are are never going to be able to change their mind. They're low intent. They're just going to open your app and leave. But a lot of this, if you can increase, 5 to 10% that drop-off rate, this translates to the entire rest of your funnel. And so don't neglect this first screen. All right, so if we move on to the rest of the flow, they start with asking, what's your name? And then instead of having a button that says log in or sign up, they say, hey, I'm going to ask you a few questions, don't need to overthink it, and then I'll build your setup from this. But they say, quick check, have we met before? And you can either say, no, I'm new to Opal, or yes, sign in. Either way, they launch account creation and login process. This part is not chat-based, kind of just traditional, continue with Apple or continue with phone or sign up with email. You'll see that they have a nice reassurance for people scared of logging in. Your sensitive data is protected by Apple and never leaves your device. And so this can help boost account conversion rates a little bit. And they also offer a login with phone number option, sign up with email. I often find the more login options you have, the better conversion rate you get. It can be kind of a pain to implement the different authentication, manage all the authentication, but usually it pays off as you scale. All right, so then after we sign up and create my account, then we go into the rest of the flow. The Opal then asks, what matters most to you? And all of these aren't free response questions. They're all, you can select from a set of answers. So it's kind of this cross in between a kind of quiz flow versus more chat flow. But the interaction style where you can see your past answers, things are kind of typed out, definitely feels much more like a chat bot, and it is definitely much more interesting. So they add what matters most to you. This is kind of the standard what are your goals screen, so they can understand kind of what is driving you. And then you'll see that they can use this to personalize the flow later on. Next, how old are you? And they have some different responses, and so it's not just enter an answer from the question. They also follow up. They say, how old are you? I put my age. They say old enough to know what matters. Okay, that's interesting, kind of generic, but good response. Makes for more conversational style. They ask what best describes you. This is a good way, this phrasing, what best describes you, is a good way to get at the in-between of, are you working? Are you studying? And so they have technology, entrepreneur, remote, finance, creative, student, caregiver. So you can see it's kind of this in-between. It's not asking like, what's your job? What do you do? But I thought that was a nice phrasing of the copy for that question. And continuing on, I put entrepreneur. They say always on, even when you said you'd log off. So they have a nice personalized response based on each of those follow-ups, and they ask about my screen time, which is obviously quite relevant to Opal, which is a screen time app. And so I enter 3 to 4 hours a day. It's probably more than that, but I wanted to feel good about myself, so I lied a little. Then they respond with, I can help with that, Jacob, but to change your habits, I'm going to need your permission. This is a really nice, easy way to ease into accepting screen time permissions. And so then from here, they set the stage, and then they ask for access to the screen time permissions for Apple. And these are, pretty much can control your entire phone. And so it's more sensitive. They have to set this up correctly. And so you can go continue. Then you select which categories, which is kind of part of the screen time API. You select which apps and which categories you want to be blocked. Then they're moving into the actual aha moment and showing value for Opal. And they're setting the stage and really figuring out how to motivate users and how to truly understand what they're delivering. So they say some not so good news and some great news. And these are based on my screen time, based on my work. Bad news is they'll spend 91 days on your phone this year. Wow, that's a lot. That's the stage. Then it's even more. It's even a bigger number. They say, now I'm going to spend 18 years of my life looking down at my phone. Wow. And so setting up the problem, this is a great tactic in onboarding flows and really sales in general. Set up the problem, and then you position your product as the solution here. And so people are probably aware of this problem if they're downloading a screen time app. They have some intent, but it's important to then capture in on these emotions, capture in on this already existing intent, and try to increase people's awareness and the importance of this problem. So after they say how many years I'm estimated to spend on my phone, say the good news is that Opal can help you get it back. Okay, well that's great. Wow, Opal can help me get 5+ years of my life back away from my phone. Well, that's pretty huge. Who wouldn't want 5 more years of their life? All right, so now they ask for another permission, and if you can see, I think Opal used to actually have the push permissions and the screen time permissions pretty close together. They ask for it all at the same time. They've broken this up. So now they ask for the screen time permissions first, and then they set the stage. And they've actually moved this kind of aha moment or hook later in the flow after the screen time API, but in between the push notification permissions. And so they're breaking that up, building up your energy, building up momentum and motivation to ask for additional permissions before you get to the paywall. All right, so if we continue on past here, now we enter this paywall conversion flow. So let's take a look here. Jacob, you'll get 5 years of your life, 30% less screen time. some actual numbers. It's reducing it by 30%. And so that's how they're calculating it. 30% deeper sleep. If you remember, maybe I didn't mention it, but in the very first screen, we go back here, we can see that they're asking about what matters most to you. I selected sleep. I selected sleep better is the matters most to me and is part of my goals. And so then we go back here and you can see they're saying you get 30% deeper sleep, fall asleep faster and deeper with less screen time before bed. I would bet that this is personalized based on my initial responses. And this is important to kind of tie back the value. They still think that 5 years of your life, getting that back is the most important value prop. You know, sometimes I see that this personalized value in the title can be done well, but they use as the second bullet here to kind of still try to reinforce that they are connecting and directly to my goals. 27 days back this year, so overall, but then specifically, they break it down by each day, by overall each year, by my life, and then connect it with a personalized goal. And so this is really, really emphasizing strongly the benefits I'm going to get. They have this kind of fist bump commitment prompt. You know, you've probably seen commitment prompts where you say like hold down to commit and flow or headway. So this is kind of a altered version of that. Let's do it. So I tap let's do it. This continues on. And then I press on this fist bump. You don't see it here, but it kind of expands. And then we go into, so that's this pre-paywall flow where they reemphasize the value before they actually get to talking about the products or purchasing. And so it's kind of a similar screen, but it reemphasizes and reinforces this value even more. Start your free week and gain 2+ hours back. One comment I had here, that 2+ hours, it's less, it's not specific compared to the other ones, which were years and days. 2+ hours, I intuit that it's infer that it's my day, and you can kind of see this nice before and after graph of phone usage. Then we go through these different benefits again. I would have liked these to maybe be personalized based on what I said before. If they could pull sleep in again, that seems like a nice touch. I think that this is a paywall builder tool that they're using here. And so you can see it's a slightly different UX, slightly different design and experience. This is probably coming from a third-party builder versus their native screens that allows them to test a little faster. And so you can see the benefits. We've got some social proof here, reviews, number of people, press articles, press mentions, Apple Design Awards for social impact. And this is a nice CTA, reclaim my time. Great contextual CTA, better than just continue, which they have through a lot of other prompts. And continue's never bad, but if you can get a CTA copy that actually relates directly to kind of your value, what the user's doing, that performs, this is typically better. All right. Then this is a paywall pattern that I've seen work well. So we have this trial reminder, and this forces a little more engagement to really make sure people understand that there is a trial. When should we remind you before your trial ends? 2 days before or 3 days before? Like the timing of the reminder, who cares? But this is forcing the kind of acknowledgement and understanding and making sure someone stops from just going tap, 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 continue, continue, continue. And so this allows people to actually go, great, I'm going to be reminded before my trial ends. And so they're less likely to immediately cancel their trial after they start it. This ultimately, so many tactics on a paywall are about letting people know that there is a free option or a free trial and making sure people know it's free and know there's a trial. So we put free in big bold letters. You put that there's a trial. There's other kind of the trial timeline from Blinkist. It was all just to try to get people to understand there's a trial, because people don't read. And this is really the crux of it, that people are just pressing continue. I've seen in user studies and user interviews, people just go open the phone and go, oh, I don't want to pay, and close it. It's like, well, actually, there's a free trial. You didn't have to pay up front, but people just see that there's a payment prompt. They don't read it. They just turn off and close their phone. And so this is, I think, why this has become an effective tactic to get you to actually acknowledge a trial. Then, when we let's look at the actual paywall. We can see on the paywall that they are using this design your trial style. So there's a yearly plan with a 7-day trial, or you can get a 30-day trial if you pay $4.99 up front. And what's happening here is that previously Opal had a monthly plan. And so the good thing about having multiple products on your paywall is it's shifting the choice away from just purchase this yearly plan or purchase the monthly plan, and shifting the choice away from purchase or not to purchase to which product should I purchase. And so this is kind of doing the same thing, but ultimately we want more people on annual plans. It's a higher price plan. There's lower churn. This is typically better for LTV for the business. But if we only show an annual plan, the choice goes back to purchase or not purchase. And so this gives people choices again about which product I should purchase, and a lot of times can improve overall ARPU or LTV of your users by driving more people to purchase an annual plan, even though you're getting rid of monthly. And so if we can look down at the rest of the paywall here, there's some scrollable options. You can scroll down. And so ultimately, what the kind of this math is that we're probably gonna have lower total trial start rates if we don't show this monthly plan, but ultimately we're trying to decrease, we're trying to minimize the conversion decrease and have enough percentage of people purchase annual that the kind of the revenue increase outweighs any conversion drop. But then this is a great tactic. I don't see as many people doing this. So Opal used to have monthly and annual. They removed the monthly on the first paywall to have the two options I'm talking about: the design your trial, either the $99.99 7-day plan or the $99.99 per year, but with 30 days introductory offer for $4.99. But then if I close that paywall, then they trigger a not ready for a year. We get it. Try a monthly plan instead. Now the monthly plan is $19.99, and so it's a bit pricey, but it allows for people to have an option that don't want the year, aren't really comfortable with paying up front or starting a year trial. They're much happier to have a lower commitment of a monthly plan. You'll see a tactic across both of these paywalls. The simple checkbox of no payment due now, right above the CTA or below the CTA, this often improves conversion rates. And so this should be a tactic that you try. And so I think this flow here of asking people when should we remind you before the trial ends, then the design your trial, and then prompting people if they want to start a monthly plan, if they aren't ready for the commitment of the year, it is probably a strong performing paywall flow that you should test out. I see a lot of people with the design your trial flow. I don't see as many people with the not ready for a year, try a monthly plan instead. More commonly, I see just them showing a discount of an annual plan. But if you have decent monthly retention and you have a decent retention for your product, potentially the monthly plan ARPU is going to be higher than this discounted annual plan, and whatever discount you'd have to show to make that worthwhile. And so if you're listening via audio on the podcast, go check this out on YouTube, and or you can kind of see some of these visuals in Retention Blog, and you'll be able to kind of copy that flow there and see what they're doing. All right. Then Now we actually get into the post-paywall flow. We land in the app, and then we continue with this kind of semi-chat based approach. They help educate you, and there's some personalization where saying, Jacob, attention is your most valuable asset. It starts with your sleep, then how focused or distracted you are during the day, and whether you truly recover. It measures how well technology aligns with your well-being. And so they connect back the value of the product back to their app, and then you go set up your screen time tracking and blocking. They have some preset rules, and they show some decent gamification in terms of progress and unlocking other opals. They show up top kind of a progress bar and how much progress I've made in terms of completing kind of this onboarding journey. And then you see kind of set the stage early on for that. You're going to be unlocking things and unlocking your completing the app, completing your kind of screen time blocks and building up streaks kind of unlocks progress. And so this sets the stage decently well. They have different themes, and so the core of the app is really just screen blocking and screen time blocking. So they have these different opals you earn. They have different seasonal things, and so it adds a little of excitement, a little variety to get you excited. They talk about these first steps taken and sets the stage for streaks as well, and then they let you know that when the next screen time blocking is starting. And so overall, I really think that this more chat-based interface will become more popular amongst more subscription apps during the onboarding flow. I think that I'm not sure if you all have read, I think it was a blog post by Andrew Chen, The Law of Shitty Clickthroughs, that essentially he started talking about this in the context of banner ads, where banner ads in the early days of the internet performed really well, but over time, people get tired of these and everything stops working. So they have super high click-throughs, like 10% click-through rate on banner ads in Yahoo or something. And then over time, people just come habituated and acclimated to seeing these. And over time, the performance of everything just kind of diminishes once more people start seeing it everywhere. And so I think this is going to happen with these kind of quiz-based onboarding flows. More and more people have gone through these in different apps, these questionnaires, and I think the impact and the conversion power will kind of lessen over time. And so you always want to kind of be inventing and figuring out what's the new thing. I think that these chat-based onboarding flow styles are definitely worth testing for a lot of different apps out there. And why is this? Well, the obvious one is that a chat interaction style has become popularized pretty quickly with ChatGPT and Claude, and so some of this is just capturing on and using overall kind of culture, user experience trends. You don't want to have a completely new UX or UI that no one's ever seen before because people will be confused. And so I think that we want to use interaction styles that people are already experienced with. And so what type of app is this right for to try out? Well, if you have a 50 screen onboarding flow where you're asking tons and tons of questions, I probably wouldn't immediately translate this to a chat bot or kind of chat interaction style. Look, I'm going to be over time, like if I'm just tapping and have to interact and answer that many questions via chat style, and I can't just tap through quickly and I can't go through the screens faster, I'm gonna become pretty frustrated and I'm probably just gonna leave, and I'm not gonna be super happy about using your product. So if you have somewhere between like 5 and 10, maybe 15 screens and 15 different questions, this probably can translate well to this chat-based onboarding flow. I think that this would be the first kind of dichotomy of how I would split whether it's right for you for a test or not. And so But I've seen a few other apps that are doing this as well. And so I think I've heard some good results from some smaller and larger apps that have implemented kind of a chat-based flow. And so I really do think it's worth testing out. Go check out Opal if you want to see how they've done it. If you're not on YouTube right now, go watch on YouTube to kind of see the full screen, or check out retention blog to go see my full written breakdown of how this flow is. And you'll actually notice here, you may be wondering, we're building out our own onboarding library repository and paywall library. So this is all locally hosted right now, and so not quite live to the public, but maybe I'm building a little suspense for something that'll be coming in the future. And so hopefully I can share this this tool with you all soon. But okay, great. We're doing a little shorter episode, trying out little different content styles for the podcast, a few solo episodes. So let me know what you think, and yeah, hope you found this useful. All right, thanks. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed. Please go to pricepowerpodcast.com to see all the episodes. Go to Spotify and YouTube and give us a subscribe and follow so you don't miss any episodes. All right, talk to you next time.